The great Australian chucking a sickie. There's more to it than you think. Stay tuned.
I'm the ringleader, so listen up.
Good morning.
Colonel SILJIC, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good.
Chucking a sickie.
What do you reckon?
I think it's going to be a highly debated topic.
I was warned this morning by one Miss Lisa Novak about what I say today.
I can understand that. It's a delicate topic because there's lots of, I guess, genuine reasons out there, and there's lots of non-genuine reasons out there as well. So I can see both sides of the coin.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Where are we going with this today? Interesting information. So an average employee gets about 10 sick days a year. Interesting information. There's the last decade, the last 10 years, there's been less sickies than the 10 years prior.
Which is really interesting. Looking at the numbers with it, it's sort of hard, I guess, when you're comparing industry to industry. And I wonder if that number's an average across the board. I reckon if you actually dug down deeper into it, you'd find some industries have actually gotten better in terms of people getting sick less, and other industries, I reckon people are getting sick more. But it's good to see overall that trend is going down, though. People aren't getting sick as much. I'd
love to know people that are watching today, their opinion on the Australian sickie. Let us know. Type your comments in. What's interesting is it's actually people's methods and researching it. People's methods of spreading sickness has reduced. So things like social distancing, things like working from home, that's really helped the Great Australian Sick Day. But something that's also grown has been mental health and the reporting of mental health. So it's sort of offset that a little bit, where I think employers have got to be really sensitive about this, because the mental health issue in the workplace, super important. And I guess it's something that people are feeling more comfortable about reporting, whereas before they would pike it. And maybe say a cold, but now people are more comfortable with actually recognizing it from the employer and the employee perspective as well.
And then also on the flip side, there's, I guess, the genuinely when you are unwell and you don't want to go in the workplace and obviously get your co-workers sick, or if you can't perform your duty. And then also there's as Mark said, the good old Australian sickie as well, where sometimes people do just put in their sick leave for the day, go get the doctor's certificate and go down to the beach.
And it seems like I would say it would be harder to chuck a non-real sickie this decade compared to the last decade. It seems like there's a lot more eyeballs and cameras and stuff out there than there was, you know what I mean, like a long time ago.
Social media,
right. And then also people working from home means there's more people that are on the, like for instance, on the beaches. So where everyone used to go off to work, locking themselves into a room for 8 hours in the CBD, now people are sort of around the burbs a little bit more. So it'd be a bit harder to chuck a fake one.
Yeah, I agree. Slash maybe the whole, I've never done it, but the whole reason why someone would want to chuck a fake one is obviously just to relax and enjoy your time. And if you're working from home, you have that bit more flexibility. Maybe that sort of pushed it down on that end as well. And I think I agree with you there, Mark, in terms of it's harder now to everywhere now with social media, with everything that's going on. It's so much harder in terms of privacy now as well, where generally whatever you're doing, people do know.
It's definitely
Good
out
or
there.
bad?
Now the whole work-life balance thing is definitely bigger than it used to be. So it's quite interesting now that people working from home. I guess if they're feeling off kilt, there's people now in some industries that'll just actually take it a little bit easier and actually work from home. So that would almost probably push productivity up a little bit, because it's not forcing people into a 10 out of 10 high activity day. They can sort of run at an 80 or 90% pace at home, which then protects them from having that sickie the next day. So I guess that whole that COVID thing's definitely changed the way we chuck a sickie. I think doctors are aware of mental illness as well. I don't think, and this is something you and I spoke about off air, I think these days with it's a much more litigious society. Whereas if you're a doctor, I think looking down your nose of a doctor, it's pretty hard pressed to say no, because of the responsibility, the commercial, social, whatever, the responsibility of saying no is far, far greater than saying yes. So I think a lot of doctors these days, if someone is ready, willing, and able to come in and have a concern, it's pretty hard for a doctor to say no to that as well. So I think these days, like I remember as a kid going in and talking to a doctor, and the doctor would look at me sideways and go, nah, you know what I mean? But I think now that would definitely not happen.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you hit the nail on the head before, where because of these more flexible working arrangements, there are sometimes days where you go as an employee or even employer where you go, I'm under the weather, I know I'm contagious, but at the same time, I'm not completely bedridden. I don't want to be going into the office to get all my co-workers sick, but I can still perform my duties from home, maybe not 100%, but still 80%. And so the ability to, instead of just going 0 or 100, either I'm not working at all today, even though you probably could, but having that ability to go, yep, I'm not going to go into the office, but I'm still going to try and get most of my work done. I think it's a nice balance. Obviously, there's other times as well when you're completely bedridden. But outside of those times, I think it's nice to be able to have that flexibility.
Okay, now from an employee perspective, feel bad.
Not performing your duties.
Whatever. Tell us about it. What's the emotions you've been through recently?
Yeah.
How do you feel?
I reckon it's case by case, and it depends on your job as well. Like if you've just got a very, what's the word for it, non-customer facing role that someone else in the workplace can easily pick up, it's a bit different. I feel like then you sort of like, okay, I can sort of pass the baton on to my colleagues and they can sort of cover it for me. The nature of our industry, very customer facing. If you're out of action for a period of time, it's not even just to your employer, it's to your clients as well, if you're completely MIA. So I think the nature of our job, even when you are unwell, unless you're truly, truly incapacitated from working, your chances are still going to be on the phone, still performing your duties to your clients, not at 100%, but definitely you would feel, a certain level of responsibility, not just to drop them like a hot potato.
And I guess there's two sides to that, because it can lead to a longer recovery as well if you're not putting the throttle down and truly relaxing. I guess it leads to a longer recovery time as well. So it's a big thing. Now I actually asked ChatGPT to help me today, and ChatGPT gave us a comment on sick days. They said the past decade has witnessed a nuance of transformation in sick patterns in Australia. While overall number of sick days has taken per employer has shown a slightly decline. Sorry, I'm trying to do two things at once. Decline. Mental health and emphasis on workplace balance, impact and COVID pandemic have contributed. Policymakers reckon, this is a big one, policymakers recognise there is an evolving dynamics continuing to prioritise on employee well-being, addressing both physical and mental, fostering a supportive network and environment. I reckon overall we're a healthier workplace. If you look at like our parents and the Aussie sick day, and you look at now, I reckon, and digital's probably had a bit of a play in this. It's played a part where digital supported that, whereas when you couldn't go to work 10 years ago or 20 years ago, you were sort of almost useless. Whereas now the way you've got with Zoom, for instance, this morning with yourself, if you weren't feeling well, you can just Zoom in and say, look, I don't want to go to work, but I can certainly do the live this morning. Digital's helped the sick day.
Yeah, I agree. And look, I think we are definitely healthier. Obviously, there's the pandemic, which we didn't have the past decade. But overall, I agree, because obviously technology, medicine, everyone's more aware, looking after themselves more. And then on the flip side as well, I think, and this might slightly skew the statistics as well, but I think we're more diagnosed also. So we may be potentially healthier, but then if we're diagnosing more also. So there's, I think, a few things sort of pushing the statistics either way. But I think overall, and you can't ever truly measure it, but I think, with the technology, medicine and so forth, I think we are hopefully starting to lead healthier lives. And as we become more aware, we continue to adjust and shift as a workplace to continue to prolong that.
Diet, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Well, that is the greatest. That's a chat about the taboo sick day today, and I think inclusion. I find it very interesting that there's less sick days in this last decade than there was the decade before.
I think it's a good thing. Either way you look at it, it means people getting sick less. It means people chucking sickies less. Either way, it's a good thing.
Yep, and understanding the good old. I think we understand our colds a lot better than we did before. Like, it's the strains, the antiviruses. You know, when you get the flu injection.
People have never been more educated on that stuff now. No one's ever been more educated in their lifetime, or the general public, with all this sort of stuff than before.
Distancing, everything. Mate, thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thanks, Mark.
Chuck a sickie.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.